first step in any facial is to remove any makeup you may have on with a cleansing balm, cleansing oil, or cleansing milk, any product that helps emulsify the makeup. Pay special attention to the lips and the eyes where you may be wearing products that are waterproof or long-lasting. It's always a good idea to double cleanse, and for your second cleanser, it might be good to have a foaming wash. The Alike organic range that we have at the spa has an exfoliating wash that foams as well. It's also quite satisfying to wash the day off. For a deeper cleanse or to decongest any areas, it's a good idea to use an exfoliator, either a physical or a chemical one, in circular motions. Steam is also a good idea at this point. If you have a facial steamer or if you're doing this in the shower, alternatively, some people like to use a warm bowl of water and just drape their face over, not touching the water, but just letting the steam rise just to open their pores while they're exfoliating. Just rinse that off when you're all done. Following the deep cleanse, you can massage the skin to improve circulation and bring oxygen and nutrients to the skin. This can be done following some of the movements that I'm doing here, which also help with lymphatic drainage. So that's any fluid retention and helping that drain towards the lymph nodes. So you want to be applying a little bit of pressure, but not too much. You shouldn't be dragging the skin. You want to be especially gentle around the eyes. It can feel incredibly good to apply a tiny bit of pressure just under the bone there where I'm holding it. If you find any headaches coming on in quarantine, that can feel quite nice. And you can really use any product that has sufficient slip at this point. So facial oils are a good idea. Some serums have enough slip to allow you to kind of glide over your skin. Massaging the temples also helps to relieve tension. And this tapotement at the end just helps any absorption of the product that you're using. Next, we're going to be applying a mask, and it's always a good idea to include your neck and décolleté area with any skincare that you're doing. You can use any mask that you've got at home. Alternatively, sometimes people like to make their own masks with recipes that they find online. I'm just using a moisturizing mask that has hyaluronic acid. And just make sure you apply that evenly and allow it to sink in for about 10 to 15 minutes, unless the instructions on your mask say otherwise. After you've let your mask soak in and washed it off, you can tone the skin with a light toner just to restore the pH balance of the skin. Now is the time to pat in any serum. You don't want to rub too much, make sure you're nice and gentle. The general rule with serums and essences, there's so much on the market at the moment, is to start with the lightest consistency and move towards the heavier consistency. So emulsions usually go first, and then serums, and then any oils. I'm just applying some eye cream here. It's a very delicate area, so just pat that in. And now we're just applying some moisturizer with sun protection. Try to make sure that you have an SPF of 15 or over, just to make sure that your skin's protected, even in countries where you don't have as much sunlight as we do in Bermuda. And lastly, to finish off, some lip balm. I'm using a tinted one here, but you can use any one that you like. And all done. The first step is to remove any nail varnish that you have. I'm wearing a dark colour just so you can see the removal, and just hold a cotton pad soaked in nail varnish remover on the nail for a few seconds and then push away from the finger, and the nail varnish should come off quite easily. The next step is to trim the nails if they need trimming. I keep mine quite short as a therapist, so you can also just file them if that's all they need. You can do this in an oval or a square shape. To soften the cuticles, you can simply dip your fingers in a bowl of warm water with a little bit of soap. Afterwards, you can apply a hand cream or any cuticle oil or cuticle remover if you have some, and just use a Q-tip to push back the cuticle gently. If you have cuticle nippers at this point, you can trim them down if you'd like to. Just make sure you're nice and gentle. To remove any residue, you can wipe the nail with some nail varnish remover before you start, just to have a clean base. And then you would start with your base coat, just one coat of that on each of the nails. You can then apply a coat of colour. Just remove some of the nail varnish from one side of the brush and start pretty low down and push towards the cuticle, and then swipe up away from the finger. About 3 strokes should cover most nails. You can then apply a second coat of colour if you would like to, depending on the colour that you're using. Lastly, you can apply your top coat to make sure that your manicure lasts as long as possible. And you want to make sure you leave sufficient time for your nails to dry, ideally about 15 to 20 minutes where you're not using your hands. And you're all done. We're going to start the pedicure by removing the nail varnish. As with a manicure, you want to hold that in for a few seconds and then slowly and gently push away from the toe. After applying a foot scrub, soak your feet for a few minutes just to soften the cuticles. Trim down any nails that need trimming and file the edges just to have a nice smooth finish. You can use cuticle remover or cuticle oil if you have it, and a Q-tip just to push back some of those cuticles. If you have cuticle nippers, now is the time to trim any excess cuticles. After removing any residue with nail varnish remover on a cotton pad, you can apply your base coat. After applying your base coat, you can apply 2 coats of colour. Once again, you want to make sure you don't have too much nail varnish on the brush by removing any excess from one side and starting about 3/4 of the way down, pushing down towards the cuticle and then swiping up away from the toe. To finish, apply the top coat and leave your feet to dry for about 15 to 20 minutes, not wearing any shoes during that time, and you're all done.